What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to NerdWide Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my favorite co-host. Over here to the right is Mr. Chris Rivers. And before you say anything, Chris, I want to apologize. This is episode 34, not episode 33. That is a lost episode. And what I mean by that is we've talked all week long. I've been very frustrated. We recorded our Black Widow review. We talked about the most recent Loki episode. We talked about a lot. And my audio did not record. Very frustrating. So if anyone knows what happened on OBS's side, where Chris could still hear me, and my green lines were still over here in OBS, but there's no audio, please let me know because that would help. I would even pay you at this point. But anyways, Chris, episode 34. How are you? How was Black Widow? How's life?
Uh, Black Widow was amazing.
Good. Yeah, we're in the
Um,
same boat.
yeah, I think I said last week A minus. It's probably top 10 for me in Marvel
hmm
movies, maybe top 8. I just really enjoyed it.
Uh,
Um,
I
so
enjoyed it. It's
yeah,
one of those good as a solo movie. I think not my favorite solo movie. Of course, Black Panther and Iron Man movies are obviously up there for me. Um, but it was a good movie. I think I gave it a B or B plus. I can't remember. I can't really lip read myself real well, so I couldn't tell what I gave it. But it was
what
we
did
had a
you
good time. What?
what did you give it in Letterboxd?
Oh, good call. Good call. I think I gave it a. Speaking of Letterbox, I need to do our movie review for this week, which is the Tomorrow War. So if you are listening, and have not watched the Tomorrow War because we couldn't publish the episode. Pause it now. Watch the Tomorrow War with Chris Pratt and Yvonne Strahovski, and is it Yvonne Strahovski? I think Hofsky's right.
Yeah,
Sarah.
Strahovski.
That's Sarah's all that counts. Let's see. What did I gave it 4 stars, so that's it in
There you go.
Letterbox. Last week's episode of Loki was good. Just quick little. It was a little slow. Got things started up for the finale this week, which we got
Mhm.
some stuff to talk about. But
Some
before we
good Mobius in that episode.
do it,
There was some good Mobius
yeah,
in last week's Loki.
I love Owen Wilson, and wow, we still didn't get a wow, of course, through either of the episodes. Anyways, guys, this is the NerdWide Podcast, episode 34. Don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting services of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure you leave it a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating on podcasting apps. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, make sure you leave us a comment and let us know how we can improve this show. If you want to do more, you can always go to patreon.com/nerdwide. Toss us a couple bucks that way. There's 3 different tiers you subscribe to, and with some fun little goodies there. Now, we do have another housekeeping thing. We have the Sightless City book review up. If you're listening to it, if you're listening to this on Monday when this episode publishes, tomorrow is when that book comes out. So make sure July 20th you buy this book. I can't wait to read it personally based off of Chris's review that we have up on our YouTube and podcasting service. So make sure you give those a listen. Make sure you let us know what you think about the book if you do buy it, and we'll go from there. It's our first book review. Chris did a great job. I can't wait to do more if we have more of those opportunities. And honestly, I can't wait to get my hands on the book, anyways, to read it myself. So, Chris, enough chit chat. We've got a lot of news to go through. We got some TV shows to go through as well, and our movie to review. So, before we start things off, have you been watching anything fun on TV?
No, just continue to get caught up on the rookie. Um, that season's over, of course, but got it on the DVR, so I'm trying to rip through it.
I'm still in this little lull right now where the CW shows are not on Netflix yet, and so I'm going rewatching Black Sails, which of course is the Stars pirate TV show, one of my favorite top 3 TV shows of all time, along with Spartacus, and I forget what my other one is. Anyways, I'll remember at some point. But
So
just go ahead.
there's one I'm wanting to watch this week, um, because I keep putting it off, and I've kind of committed to watching it this week. So maybe you could watch it and we could talk about it next week. And that's Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol. You know what? I will actually do that. I'm gonna put that on my list right here. Yes, that's what we'll do. Let's commit to it. Oh, speaking of, I didn't put that on here. I need to. Did you watch the new Titans trailer?
I did not.
Oh,
I missed that.
oh, I'm telling you. So right now, this starts off. I'm not gonna. It doesn't really. If it's in the trailer, it's not really ruining anything for the show. But it
Right.
starts off with the Joker killing Robin. Like,
Ooh.
because we're assuming he's killed because one of the police officers is, or like one of the news reporters is saying one of Batman's allies was killed last night by the Joker. And I'm like, oh my, because it shows him, Robin lying on the ground. There's a crowbar, which is the infamous scene of him killing Robin, and he's just beating him senselessly in a carnival.
We know from, because I think they've mentioned this, right? This is out there, so this isn't really spoilery. Uh, that the Red Hood is supposed
Hmm.
to appear,
No, he's in the big. He's
and
a
it,
big part of the trailer.
and if okay, so if you're familiar with the comic storyline, you know where this is going then,
Right. It's
because the last time we saw Robin, it was Jason Todd's Robin.
right.
Jason Todd becomes the
It's
Red Hood.
it's going to be so good, Chris.
So,
I am telling you. I am so stoked for this show, and I know we've both loved the first two seasons, but this is the first season with HBO Max money, if you will. And I know it's not gonna have a different feel of the show, but it's gonna have a better production quality to it. And man, I can't wait. Like everything they revealed and showed in there, like they even showed a little bit of Blackfire. I'm all in. I am seriously can't wait. And we've only got 3 or 4 weeks until it's here. And August 12th, I'm here. I can't wait.
so it's gonna be a good time to watch Doom Patrol anyway then,
Yeah, so get us
since
all caught up
there's
on there. And it's all supposed to be apparently in the Arrowverse. So I'm very curious how we're going to do this. In theory,
yeah,
since we combine
yeah.
all the Earth and anything. Anyways, I had to bring that up. Make sure you watch that, listeners and Chris. You really need to because it's so good. The trailer just really got me. I had chills the whole time I watched it. Anyways, let's talk about our TV show that here lately I love to hate, kind of, sort of. Love to love and hate to hate. Superman and Lois. This episode is Through the Valley of Death. Ratings wise, it went up to 0.20, which was up from 0.16 3 weeks ago. We're not going to do hero cravings this week because we do have a lot to talk about, especially with Loki here in a minute. This episode, I was expecting a lot more. Again, these breaks I feel like are killing me because I'm not heavily invested. And again, it's the tone. I feel like I know I'm a broken record with this. It's the tone of the episodes. It does not feel like an Arrowverse show, even though we have our first acknowledgement as a part of the Arrowverse with John Diggle in the episode, which it was just John Diggle. Again, another that they could have done something. And I was watching his hands the whole time. They didn't really show it much, but I was looking at his hands. No rings. He had his wedding ring on, but that was it. I mean, they didn't really show his right hand much. And I mean, I don't. I enjoy this show, but I would enjoy it a lot more if it had an Arrowverse tone to it. And this
Yeah.
episode was a lot of the Lana's family, and I was like, I just don't care. I really just don't care. And the whole city hating him because he endorsed Morgan Edge, which they were all loving him. Again, not really his fault because he was under the same brain influence and everything you guys were. And y'all are throwing bricks through his house. The random daughter finally came back after not seeing her after the second episode of the whole show. And there was a lot of, this didn't make any sense. The whole General Zod thing. This episode felt like a finale to me, and we still have 3 more episodes. So, I'm like, what are we doing? I just didn't enjoy. I, I I want to love the show so much. It's just missing that Arrowverse tone and feel to it, which is what elevates it. Like the brothers, I mean, everyone, all these are great actors and actresses in this whole show. I just don't feel
Yeah.
like, I don't think it's the director. I think it's just the way that this show is written and the way that it feels to me. And again, I want to love this show. I love Tyler Hoechlin. I love Bitsy. I love everybody in this show. It's just I, I don't know how they shoot it. I don't like the feel of it. And I hope in season 2 they come back with a more Arrowverse feel to it. Like even Black Lightning and Arrow both are very serious shows, they even have that Arrowverse feel to it. This show just does not have it. Like I don't even feel like it's a CW show at this point.
And I think one thing killing it, I don't know if I don't know if this break was planned, uh, but we know the last one wasn't because they said it was COVID
Right.
related. Um, so that doesn't help. And then again, they're devoting a lot of time to Lana Lang's family.
Right.
And like you said, it's just not appealing as part of the story. I think the initial couple three episodes where they were kind of setting up the relationships, that was fine. But now it's like they're giving us just as much of that as they're giving us of the Kent family, and that's not what people are watching for.
Right.
You know,
I just
scale them to the background, kill one of them off if you have to. If 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 you want Sarah to get involved, where maybe she finds out about Jordan completely
right.
and she helps him as he starts to, that'd be cool. I get behind that. Like she's helping him train essentially and learn his powers and
See,
documenting that.
so
But
I had
it,
a lot of issues with this episode, and I threw up the spoilers tag for those listening because here's the thing: how did John Irons not realize that her husband was Superman? Like he's been absent when all this goes on. The way she talks about him, I just maybe he was blinded from his
because
time, but
everyone is stupid when it
I
comes
know.
to figuring out that Clark Kent and Superman
I
are one and
just
the
it
same.
makes no sense to me, and he should
Pair
know
of
more than
glass.
anybody. He's trying to kill him. And
Yeah.
then
I mean, and
this is what drives me nuts on this one is we're talking about all these Kryptonians and doing all this stuff. Why has Supergirl not been mentioned at all? Again, we got
yeah.
confirmation this is in the Arrowverse. I mean, are we not worried about Supergirl turning and destroying cities and everything?
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it because I thought when John was standing there and going off on Sam about you weren't honest with us, Argus would never have given you this equipment. I thought he would have brought up Kara
Right,
and said something about because he rattles off a couple people that aren't happy with this.
right. That
I would
wouldn't
have
have been
thought he
happy
would have
with it.
named right.
Right. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what is like the whole? I don't understand again why the boys had even mentioned her. They'd have been like, oh, so you're what about cousin Kara? You know, and he'd be like, oh yeah, that is Supergirl, and you made things click.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't even talked about it. I know it makes no sense to
Oh,
me. And like we've got the whole Fortress
but
of Solitude stuff, and either one of them, and again, he could have called, or one of them could like called Kara like, hey, do you know anything about this guy having a Fortress of Solitude? Do you know where it's at? And like even have like a voice line, no, you know, don't know where anything's at.
even when Superman manages to reach out to Jordan, wouldn't you reach out to Kara first?
Right. Don't reach out to your son like Kara, help, you know, because she can hear these and her powers are attuned to it. I just, oh
Right.
man, I don't know where we're headed, and I don't like it. I want this show
The,
to be better, and
the,
it can be better. And I even wish it had a Smallville feel to it. Like we've had a couple episodes towards the beginning. I even said this when the first show came out. With the Suns and being in high school and the little football scenes, we had Smallville feels going on here. And I don't know. I just need to
oh,
rewatch
they
Smallville.
also I do think though that we're gonna get the Green Lantern reveal. I think it's gonna be part of either the finale or the prior episode.
I
Um,
hope so.
I I think I think he's gonna have to bust it out to help
And
fight Morgan Edge because correct me if I'm wrong, but what I took from that final scene, and again, it's been a few weeks since we've seen this, he did he just upload all of the Kryptonians into himself?
I say
Is that what we
I
just
have
witnessed?
no idea. I have no idea what the
Bec-
Eradicator was for. The whole little scene where they went up to the in space and he exploded it.
Uh-huh.
I have no idea. I thought he was going to come down and Henry Irons was going to be a Kryptonian of some sort somehow. But
Because wasn't that what they were using to turn these people
Yeah, I was gonna
to
upload it,
give
and they would be able to bring all of them into it instead of just one by one and one.
right. So
Ah,
I'm thinking that's what he did. So if he has the power of all the Kryptonians, I don't know.
well, and they showed the teaser for next week when I watched it on Hulu, and there is like it's nothing. It's Superman talking to him in a prison cell, and that's pretty much it. And there's nothing even good. And like the last line before it goes to the ends of the video is, "We're more alike than you know." And I'm just like, okay, all right, we're doing these voice lines again. I just again, this felt like a finale to me, and it
Yeah,
could have been a finale. The CGI though, in a lot of these scenes were so bad, like so bad.
it could definitely be better.
And I get it that it was during the pandemic, but we had all this time too. And again, I don't know anything about uh, what goes into CGI or how to make a TV show or anything like that. But we've had a lot of these breaks, and this CGI was awful, like just awful. Like maybe Smallville time awful, and even towards the end of Smallville was better than this. But like the whole Henry Iron suit looked terrible. The fight scenes looked terrible. But anyway, I gotta stop griping about this show. Next week's episode is called Failsafe. We've got 3 more after this one. But let's talk about a good TV show, Chris.
Oh,
Oh,
it's to be fair, real quick though, it's hard for you to quit griping as you say about it because this is one of those shows you were looking so forward to,
yes.
and you really wanted it to do well, and they're just, I and the tough thing is it's not the actors, right?
No.
If it was as simple as it being an actor, you could recast, but it's behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
It's some to some degree the writing, like you said, the special effects.
I would love to
It's things
know.
beyond their control, like the COVID break.
Yeah. I would love to know how much COVID affected this show. If I'm sure well, I know it did. There's no way it didn't. But I want to know to what extent it did. And I know all the CW execs are listening and watch our show. I want them to comment down below what effect did COVID play on this show? Because I just like some of it's just so awkward and it just doesn't feel right. But something that does feel right, Chris, is Loki episode 6 titled For
Yes, it
All
does.
Time Always. We started off with this. Now I want to go straight into our Easter eggs with a bunch of voice dialogue from the 10 or the 11 years of MCU we've had. We did a little flashing thing to the little title card of Marvel and everything. So it starts off with "It's Been a Long, Long Time" playing, which is the same song that Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter danced to at the end of Endgame. And then we got a whole bunch of quote lines here. I'm going to go through as much as I can. "Way to go, Tic Tac. That's how you punch. Wakanda forever. Let me put you on hold. Dance off, bro. He's a friend from work. I can do this all day. Yeah, I know. Higher, further, faster, baby. We have a Hulk. We're going to jump on that spaceship and get out of here when it come. Glorious purpose from Loki. And then what is grief if not love persevering? And we also got Open Your Eyes from last week's episode from Sylvie. And then we go into some real world people from our actual timeline. We had Alan Watts, Neil Armstrong, Greta Thunberg, Malala Yousafzai, Nelson Mandela, and former Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and Maya Angelou. Again, I'm going to read through their lines, all very short as well. "We think of time as a one-way motion, one small step for man. How dare they? My dream. We have fought for the right to experience peace. Motivated by women throughout the world, I will rise." Now, during this little title scene, there is a spaceship flying through, as you can kind of in like one of the little scenes. It is a Quinjet, and we're assuming it is Natasha and Clint in Endgame when they're flying to go to get the Soul Stone, is what everyone has theorized. Trying to
I was
see.
hoping for Daisy and Coulson, but
Yeah, it's here we are. Go through these Easter eggs real quick, so we can talk about some of them as we get to the episodes as we talk about it. While Loki and Sylvia walk up the steps in the Citadel, you can see 2 hourglasses flanking the door. Miss Minutes is creepily welcomes Sylvie and Loki into the Citadel at the end of the time, which is taken directly from the comics. It first appeared in Thor issue number 245 when Thor, Jane, and the other Asgardians travel there. In that same the Thor comic, Jane also talks to He Who Remains, which is Kang, if we will, That's who Miss Minute says lives in the Citadel, and reveals that the Time Twisters really do in the comics. The Time Twisters were a trio of beings created by the TVA. Good. Kind of wrapping this all up. Let's see. I'm just skipping through a lot of BuzzFeed's nonsense. Let's see. I want to get to the Apple scene. Oh, so you can spot the statues of 3 people plus one that is broken in the first little entryway there. These represent the 3 timekeepers we know about and one that we have not seen. In the comics, He Who Remains actually created 4 timekeepers, but one of them, the Oracle of Siwa, was exiled. So that's what we're thinking is who that is. I think that will play later on in the movies and TV shows. So obviously not a hidden detail, but Jonathan Majors has officially joined the MCU. We knew he was going to in the Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania. He was cast as King the Conqueror there. Did not expect it. I did not think we were going to see him this episode and not have him as much dialogue. And I'm extremely excited. Jonathan Majors is a phenomenal actor, and he did a real good job for this episode.
So about that real quick.
Okay.
I don't remember where I read this, but one of the articles I read over the past week, I think they said he has like professional clown training, and he used that when they allowed him to improvise his
Oh no,
scene
most of this was him.
in the office.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't expecting him, for instance, to jump up on the desk, and
Yeah,
he did it, and they just let him go with it and left it all in. Phenomenal.
He's so good, and I can't wait to see more of him. I've got the spoilers tag up. Obviously, we're going to talk about everything that happened in this show. So he talks about we see the multiverse battle. I forget what they call it. It's in this article. We'll get to it. He says, a variant of myself lived on Earth in the 31st century. This is Kang, of course, Qeng. He was a scientist, and he discovered that there were universes stacked on top of his own. At the same time, other versions of us were learning the same exact things. It goes, in the comics, the various Kangs include Nathaniel Richards, which was Reed Richards' dad, Immortus, Ramatut, and Iron Lad. So basically, buckle up, because I think we're getting all of these, and this is the way they're going to introduce Fantastic Four. There's no way this is not how they do it. He Who Remains' outfit is very similar to what various Kang variants wear in the comic books. Purple is his signature color. Andy Mortis, a Kang variant from the comics, has a similar gold symbol on his chest as well. We see the Franklin D. Roosevelt pins from Episode 2 and Episode 4. It's obviously Ravonna. It's her variant from 2018, before the snap. Let's see. It's 2018. We found blah, 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 blah. I don't really call it an Easter egg. He Who Remains tells a story about how his variants helped each other before they started a multiversal war. In the comics, the Council of Kangs is a group made up of Kangs who looks to eliminate Kangs that diverge from the path. He Who Remains tries to entice Loki and Sylvie to take over pruning the timeline, and throughout the episode he's eating an apple. It's hard not to make the biblical symbolism comparison, aka Adam and Eve, the apple and the snake, but the main reason for that was Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, when he's messing with time, he was messing with an apple, and this was the callback to it. So again, heavy Doctor Strange things here. So that was the next little thing here. We saw a bunch of, so after Sylvie kills He Who Remains, we see ginormous bunches of multiverse. Now, let's just go ahead and get into this recap here, because this episode set up the rest of the MCU for several movies and several TV shows going forward. I did not expect this show to be the one to do it. Again, I would have thought it would have been WandaVision, not Loki, which when they said when they're going to TVA and we had the trailers and everything, I did not say, hey, this is where the rest of the MCU is going to end up. But here we are. We've got so many multiverses. They said in here, okay, it's fine. We officially entered the multiverse into the MCU, and this is going to directly impact Spider-Man, No Way Home, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Doctor Strange is going to have such a wild time between Loki basically helping start the multiverse and Wanda messing with reality. There are comics with Doctor Strange, Wanda, and Loki fighting side by side, and that's just going forward. That's what's going to happen, because we already know that Tom Hiddleston has been in London filming Doctor Strange. I think that's supposed to be like keep on a hush hush, but he did a little interview, and he had the black hair. I sent you the picture of it, or he was with the cast of them all. So that's what we're going for. And then we end the episode with Loki going back to the TVA, but it's a different timeline TVA. We don't know which where he's at. Mobius and B-15 have no idea who he is. And then we get a post-credit scene with Loki will return in season 2, our first official call that one of our MCU shows is coming back for a season 2. Now, Chris, I've talked a lot. I want to know what you thought of the finale of season 1.
Um, this episode, there had been rumblings that it was going to set up the multiverse, but you never know with Marvel because there were a lot of rumors about what WandaVision was going to do. There were rumors about what Falcon and Winter Soldier was going to do. So you don't know if they're leaking that stuff to throw us a curveball and keep us on our feet or what. So um, I didn't know how they were going to do it. It's for me, it was an interesting kind of flip to see the Loki we know
Mm-hmm.
wanting to do the right thing.
Oh, it was so good, man.
And then there's this kind of a little intimate moment between he and Sylvie, and
It's just
you're
self love.
thinking
That's all that is.
she's gonna listen to him,
Yeah.
and then she basically stabs him in the back, sends him back to the TVA, and she kills He Who Remains. Um, and it's the one time Loki was sincere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if it's the one time, but one of the few times he's been really truly sincere. Um, another Loki turns on
Mm-hmm.
him, and it's like, oh man, that's
It one of the lines that's in a lot of shows and movies and stuff. Especially when he's talking to himself or talking to other people, he says, "I know how it feels. I know the pain you're going through. I felt it." He says, "I know the road you're going down. Trust me, you don't want to go down it." And it's crazy because again, we talked about it on the episode that hasn't aired from our podcast, but we where we've already seen him go through his transformation from evil to good or bad to good, and just seeing it. I think from the fight scene when they started fighting, when Kang was explaining stuff, we went from 0 to 100 real quick right at the end of the episode, and their fight scene was very well choreographed. The narration between them was really well done, and like him pleading with her, he's like, I know what this is like. I know what you're feeling. He said, but what that's at the end of that, you're not gonna get any satisfaction. He goes, this is not where you want to go, and she did it anyways. But you can't really blame her because her whole life she's been gunning to kill this one person, and it essentially starts off the rest of the multiverse. And I'm excited that we get Sylvie back because there's no way she's done. Will we get her back in Doctor Strange? I don't know, or is it just our Loki in Doctor Strange? But it's going forward, it's going to be really exciting. I was really hoping we'd get a Spider-Man No Way Home trailer by the end of this weekend. I'm still holding out that's going to be this week, but because this is what sets it all up. There's no way that you don't get Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in it. There's no way. Because that's what they're setting up. And Tom Holland's saying that, as I know of right now, there's no way that they're in the movie. Yeah, okay, buddy, we know they are. So I just with the multiverse, there's no way you don't have all of the MCU in it. There's no way you don't have or any of the Marvel films or anything. There's no way you don't have like Shield, Coulson or Chloe Bennett back. I'm telling you right now, we're going to get a nod to them at some point. There's no way we don't. They have to acknowledge them, if not bring them into the show. I'm just saying.
we'll probably get Maria Hill
Yeah,
and Nick Fury, and maybe they're honoring Coulson.
yeah.
Uh, maybe that's the nod. I wonder who all we will get back though, because of the multiverse aspect. You could
Anybody.
bring back some of, yeah, anybody could come back. I mean, we know they're not going to do it because she just had her movie and they said, hey, we're done here. But you could have a cameo from Scarlett
Right.
Johansson as Black Widow. because it's a multiverse now.
Yeah, I mean,
She could be from
literally
another
anything
timeline,
is possible.
and I wonder if they would. It'd be kind of funny with everybody anticipating Fantastic Four. Um, if not even in character, if they had Jessica Alba show up
Oh, dude, don't
in
get
the
me
film,
excited for stuff like that.
just kind of give a nod to it,
Yeah,
uh,
or like
or Lou
anybody,
Ferrigno, or Lou Ferrigno.
right, or like I mean, you could even have Chris Evans back because he did say he's coming back. He did not say as who he is coming back as. So
He
you
could
could
come
have
back
him
as the
as
Human Torch.
right, and just like kind of nod to it, and like that'd be so funny. I think if anybody, it would be Spider Man. He'd be like Captain America, and the Johnny Storm would be like who, and then like go from a different transition or something like it'd be oh. There's so much they could do with it, but anyways, let's get back to Loki season two. I mean season one. Out of all three shows, I think my ranking is still Falcon and Captain America, Falcon and Winter Soldier, WandaVision, and then Loki. It this season was a little slow to me compared to everything else. I mean, WandaVision was something new every episode and it had that mystery, that allure to it, which I think that's what they're going for with Loki. It just didn't grab me as much as WandaVision did. And then I just love Falcon and Winter Soldier, so I love that whole series.
Yeah, I think I think you're dead on because the thing with Loki, I think that they approached it from they obviously wanted it to be entertaining. It was entertaining, but it was the launch pad
Mm-hmm.
for Phase 4. So it's like there's things we have to do that we normally might not do if we were just doing this as a standalone series for Loki. So it they had to approach it from a certain angle. So I think it made it a little less what's the word? A little less exciting
Yeah.
in some ways because they had to lay that foundation to get to where they're going.
Now, do you think we get in season two? I want to say, was it you or my other buddy Chris that asked if do you think we'll get more Lokis? No, it was you. I wonder if we'll see more, multiple Lokis in season two. Do you think we bring those back, or do we bring out different variants, or what are you thinking?
I don't know. It's going to be interesting because it's not you don't have the rich history. Well, I mean, you don't really have the rich history with Spider-Man either, but they've established a lot of different Spider-Mans
Mm-hmm.
over recent years. Um, I would like to see them delve into a couple of the other Lokis. I think Kid Loki would be a really good
Yeah,
one
we
for
need to
them to
bring
dive
that one
into.
back.
And then we're gonna see how Sylvie plays out. I think like you said in Doctor Strange. Um, I think she'll come into that. So, and unfortunately, we lost classic Loki,
Right,
right? Or did we? We don't know. I mean, when they enchanted, um, I'm going blank on the
Eliath.
name, Eliath. When they enchanted Eliath, was classic Loki still in there?
Right.
Were they able to retrieve
Was it already
classic Loki?
digested?
Right? Could he be digested?
Right.
It's like a smoke monster. Um, so there's a couple of them that I would like to see, you know, especially with Kid Loki and his claim that he had killed Thor.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see that. I want to see what happened with that.
But we did get a season two of Loki confirmed. I can't wait for it. Spoilers tag is off, for, ladies and gentlemen. And Loki season two, I don't know when it will be. I imagine, what, 2023 at this point is when you think we'll get it?
Probably early 2023. Yeah.
Because, man, just because Doctor Strange is early 2022, unless they pull. Unless the Loki numbers are so great, they're going to pull it in for their end of the year show. Um, but who knows? We don't know where, because in theory we're still supposed to get Hawkeye and Miss Marvel this year. But
Yeah, Hawkeye's next,
mm-hmm.
right? Well, I
So
mean, you have What If, but then
right.
Hawkeye after that.
So how it looks now, we've got What If coming out. In August, we've got Shang-Chi in September. I don't think there's anything yet for October. The Eternals November,
Probably Miss Marvel.
Miss Marvel maybe, or Hawkeye, whichever one they put there. Because we don't have any trailers for those yet. We already had
All
trailers
right,
for Loki back in January, and this premiered
but
what in May?
they've already given Hawkeye some major hype. So
Yes, from other properties we've seen.
yeah,
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump right into our news-packed show. So, number one here for TV, Nickelodeon's live-action Fairly Odd Parents is officially in production. We're going to IGN.com by Rebecca Valentine for this one. Production has begun on the Fairly Odd Parents, a new original series coming to Paramount Plus, based on the original Nickelodeon animation, with Suzanne Blakeslee and Darren Norris reprising their original roles as Wanda and Cosmo. The first season is planned for 13 episodes and set to release on Paramount Plus later this year. The story follows Timmy Turner's cousin Viv and her stepbrother Roy, who inherit Cosmo and Wanda from Timmy. The series is a live action cartoon hybrid, with Cosmo and Wanda appearing as their cartoon selves in a live action world. Yeah, interesting. They did that with the movie with Drake Bell, so I don't see what the difference is here.
hmm
Number two, Andy Serkis confirms he will return as Claw in What If. We're going to ScreenRant.com by Grant Hermans for this one. I just wanted to see the Instagram post on here. Andy Serkis put out on Instagram, "Guess who's back," in all caps with a picture of the What If title with a winking face. One question changes everything. At What If. So, again, we talked about it last week. What If got a trailer. We talked about who was coming back and things like that. I really hope we can salvage that audio. But this is something that Kevin Feige is really glad he salvaged. Number three, Agatha will return someday soon, says Kevin Feige. We're going to one of our favorite websites, comicbook.com, by Adam Barnhart for this one. Not only is Agatha Harkness coming back to the MCU, but Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige says Catherine Hahn's beloved villain will be back sooner rather than later. In a recent chat with Rotten Tomatoes, the architect behind Hollywood's largest franchise applauded the work of Hahn's role in WandaVision. That when Feige uncarelessly let it slip, Hahn will be returning to the comic-based world, quote, someday soon. The interview goes like this. Quote, someday soon you'll see Catherine Hahn in Knives Out 2 next. Then maybe an assortment of other things, Feige told the website of Hahn's eventual MCU return. But within the MCU, it can't come soon enough, let's put it that way. So he slipped up because the quote said someday soon. And then he quickly backtracked and said, you will see Catherine Hahn in Knives Out 2 next. So he, do we get her back in Multiverse of Madness? Because, again, Catherine Hahn's phenomenal and one of the best casted roles that they've had, and it's going to be a lot of fun when she comes back. Let's see.
could we get her before that?
That's true too. I
Is there
mean,
because maybe that sets up a tease for multiverse. They could put her in a post-credit scene.
that's true. That should be really good for
It's
Spider-Man.
sort of yeah.
Um, the producer's phrasing would make Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness a prime candidate for Hahn's return. The Sam Raimi picture, though featuring Benedict Cumberbatch as Stephen Strange, also includes Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda Maximoff. Maximoff just came toe to toe with Harkness during WandaVision's expected Multiverse of Madness will pick up the pieces immediately after the Disney Plus show. So, I think that's where we're going with it, if you ask me. And then our last little bit of TV MCU news, Loki director Kate Herron is not coming back for season 2. We're going to Deadline.com by Anthony D'Alessandro for this one. Loki, Sylvie, and He Who Remains variants will be coming back for season 2 of Marvel's Loki. But EP and director Kate Herron, who has been a force behind the project, says she will not be. She told the UK filmmaker says, I am not returning. They told Deadline interview earlier this week. Quote, I always planned to be just on for this, and to be honest, season 2 wasn't in the. That's something that just came out, and I'm so excited. I'm really happy to watch it as a fan next season, but I think I'm just proud of what we did here, and I've given it my all. I'm working on some other stuff yet to be announced. Good call or not good call?
For them, I think good call. I mean, not that she did anything wrong, but you know, with the way this is going to change, with bringing in different variants,
Hmm.
things like that, a different tone set by a different director, it's not going to kill it.
Keep it fresh.
Yeah,
So
they can always bring her back for something
right,
else.
and there's no way she's gonna tell Kevin Feige no. Number five, I'm actually a little bit excited about this news story. MTV Cribs revival announced for August 11th, 20 years after its original premiere. We're going back to Deadline.com by Peter White for this one. The Viacom CBS network is bringing back the seminal series, which first launched in September 2000, for an all-new original run. The series will return to the U-Skewing network at 9:30 p.m. August 11th with new 30-minute episodes. Cribs has run for over 100 episodes across nearly 20 seasons in various forms on the main MTV network for a number of years, rebooted in 2010 and spin offs on CMT, and most recently as a short form series for Snapchat in a global format out of the UK. The series invites viewers into celebrities' homes for a tour and peek into their everyday and unexpected lifestyles and rituals. Stars on the latest US iteration include Martha Stewart, Big Sean, Ashley Simpson, Evan Ross, JoJo Siwa, Kathy Griffin, Marcy Martin, Snooki, Tanashi, and Rick Ross have already been announced. Any of those names do it for you?
No, not really. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of people that would have been big gets for them 20 years ago
Yeah.
when it debuted, but not now. No.
Number six, iCarly Revival has been renewed for a season two. I'm going to people.com for this one, and this is by Christina Dugan. Paramount Plus announced Thursday that its revival of the Nickelodeon series has been renewed for a second season. Production will begin in Los Angeles this fall. The series picked up nearly 10 years after the events that transpired in the original series. The revival finds Carly Shay, Marina Cosgrove, navigating life in her 20s alongside her friends while returning to her internet stardom roots. And they'll be back for a second season. I guess Paramount Plus did a good job with it. I still have not watched an episode, and I don't plan to get Paramount Plus now. Although we're gonna bring this back, Chris. I know Big Brother started. Didn't get to talk about that this week. We talked about last week again. But Paramount Plus, if you have that subscription, you get all the live feeds into the house. So, I mean, I'm teetering. I am teetering.
I'm, I'm good. So, yeah,
The last news story this week: the voice actor for Tommy in The Last of Us, Jeffrey Pierce, has been cast in the show, but with a twist. I'm going to IGN.com by Wesley LeBlanc. The voice actor of Tommy in The Last of Us, Jeffrey Pierce, has been cast in HBO's upcoming Last of Us series, but he will not be playing Tommy. That's due in part to Gabriel Luna was cast as Tommy earlier this year. Instead, Pierce will be playing someone named Perry, a rebel in a quarantine zone, according to Deadline. Murray Bartlett and Con O'Neill have been cast in the series alongside Pierce today as well. So, won't be playing in his original role, but at least he will be in the TV series. So I'm still hoping Troy Baker comes back. That's all I'm saying. And releases this
and
week.
Ashley Johnson.
Yes. Releases this week, July 18th to July 25th. Friday, July 23rd. I'm so stoked. Ted Lasso Season 2 is coming back to Apple TV. And I am all in. And Chris, I can't believe you have not watched the first season yet. But, it's okay.
No.
It's a feel good show, and that's all I'm saying. It's one of the best TV shows that was made, period. So that's all I've got for TV.
Awesome. Awesome. So that brings us to movies. We don't really do transitional material here. You all might have figured that out by now. I just jump right in. So have you watched anything other than our feature?
No, we were going to watch another movie, but we're going to watch it this week instead.
Mm,
So I don't
you
want to
want to
future
share what
spoilers
that is?
here. So
Oh, okay. Okay. Should be that way. So, we watched for this week The Tomorrow War. And as Tyler said earlier in the show, if because of last week's episode not being posted, if you want to watch this first, just stop the episode now,
right.
go watch The Tomorrow War, and then come back. Um, so the basic plot of this is Chris Pratt's character is a husband and father. He's father to a 9-year-old little girl. He's a former Army Ranger. and is also a scientist. And he's just not happy with his life. He's trying to push for this assignment, and they turn him down. They say, "You're just not right." Um, and as he and his family and a bunch of friends are watching um, a soccer match on TV, at the game, this huge portal opens up, and all these troops come pouring through onto the soccer field, onto the what do they call it?
Pitch.
The pitch. And one of the lead uh, people among this group of soldiers says into the camera that their aliens have invaded Earth 30 years
Hmm.
later,
30
I
years
think,
from that moment.
and they're under attack. They're being decimated, and they need these people in our time to come forward to help save their children and grandchildren's lives. Basically, they need reinforcements. And so the movie is about Chris Pratt's character being drafted and fighting the Tomorrow War. Uh, how deep do we go? Do we want to go into spoilers?
Um,
You-
I
It just came out.
I would the big twist and stuff towards the end. Let's kind of leave out. There's two things: the thing with his daughter and the the big twist at the end. Let's leave those little bits out because I mean it's obviously
Okay.
the big stuff of the movie. But we could talk about like the beginning and characters and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
So one thing about it is Yvonne Strahovski plays a scientist in the future,
God, I
and
love that woman.
she says she wears multiple hats. So, and she also mentions at one point that the Earth's population is now below 500,000
It's
people.
crazy.
Uh, yeah. So no more traffic jams. Um, she's she's got a lot of people under her command. She seems to basically be the top dog,
Hmm.
whatever her titles are. And we know that she specifically, once she saw, I would assume once she saw the file or whatever, or knew when they were going to have to go back and get reinforcements, she asked for Chris Pratt's character Dan Forrester to uh, to be brought back, um, or brought forward, and they end up attempting to eradicate the Earth. These aliens can only be killed. Their weak spots are the belly and the throat. Very few people survive their first tour trying to fight these things. Each tour is only 7 days,
Hmm.
uh, and then you get sent back home, and you're recalled later on. Uh, there's some interesting characters that we meet along the way.
Some fun
Um,
characters we
is,
had in this movie.
his name Charlie?
Charlie.
Is it Charlie?
Yeah.
He was
I
hilarious, man.
loved him.
Uh, it's like I just can't quit talking when I get
Right.
nervous, and right now I'm like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm like a 96.
Right.
Um,
Oh, he was
but
fun.
yeah, and I don't really know what more to say about the story without spoiling anything.
Right.
There are multiple books in this series,
Oh, I didn't realize it was a book.
so yeah. So
Oh.
um, I'm not sure if they're coming back for more movies
They are. Remember we talked about last week they're
or
doing a
oh,
sequel.
that's right, yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
how.
Well, see, that episode didn't post, so I
Right.
forgot.
Okay, so it doesn't count.
Um, um, from the acting in this is phenomenal.
Yes.
I have no issue with the acting. Um, the story was good. I thought the special effects were really good with what they were having to work with as
Hmm.
far as um, it involves time travel, which is always one of those things that if you try and think along logically with a movie, it's like,
It's one of
well,
the
wait a
biggest
minute.
gripes I had. That was one of the biggest gripes I had with this movie.
because your initial timeline is the one that leads to the invasion,
Hmm.
which, we kind of find out later. It's not not really a true spoiler, but
Dude, it's
I'm
the
just
way
not gonna say anything.
the way
Uh,
they did it all was so well done to me. And the biggest problem I had was so hmm, the ending of it didn't make sense to me, and why he
uh,
had the motivation of some of the things that he did, motivation wise, because timelines would have not been that way if, anyways, it just time travel and stuff
right.
messes with me. It
Yeah.
was a good, don't let that take away from the movie though. The movie, it was just so
No,
well done. The white spikes, the aliens, were so cool and horrifying. Like, if I
yeah.
ever was face to face or sent to the future to fight these things, I don't know if I could have done it. Those things are terrifying.
I was I was glad to see though that they didn't go for the cheap product placement in this, where they could have called them White Claws and had
Just had
and
seltzers everywhere.
just made millions. You can only kill them with this,
Right.
and hold a can of White Claw. Um, yeah. So your initial timeline, and then once they come back to bring people forward, that would by definition create an alternate
Yeah,
future
it'd be a loop.
because that didn't happen initially.
Right.
And one of the things about it that we do find out is that they have specifically selected certain people to go forward. They've selected people that are not alive 30 years into the future.
Hmm.
So if you're drafted, you know that you're going in your normal timeline, you would have died by the time this war happens.
So crazy to think
Um,
about.
I guess I understand why they did it because, in a way, you have no further impact, but at the same time, like this is just how my messed up brain works, right? Because
Hmm.
I'm sitting there thinking, okay, they have data on these people, so they would know if you had a family in the meantime. But what if you were a guy, for instance, who had a fling with somebody, got them pregnant, and no one knew that it was yours,
Hmm.
and that person grew up to be one of the head people in charge of trying to fight these things? You're brought forward and die,
Hmm.
so you never have that child.
I'm telling you, see, you can't
Like
think too hard about
the
movies like
ramifications.
this.
No, then it keeps you up at night.
Right.
Um, it's just like time travel just wipes out so much logically
Hmm.
from stories like this because it just creates way more questions than it gives answers. You really have to just suspend your disbelief and go, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
ride with it.
It's just a summer blockbuster flick. Just watch it and enjoy it. We went in watching this not knowing a whole lot. Obviously, I love Chris Pratt, love J.K. Simmons, love Yvonne Strahovski, uh, Sam
Hofsky.
Richardson, Strahovski. Sorry, put extra syllables and letters in there. Uh, Marilyn Roshkaba, who played Nora. She's been in several things. Mike
I first
Mitchell.
saw her in four.
Yeah. So I mean, she's been in a bunch of stuff, and she's. I mean, there was a lot of fun cast here. Um, very curious because they've already announced a movie two, or a sequel. And I just don't know how. I don't know how they're gonna do a sequel. I will watch it,
I got an idea.
but you got an idea?
I've got I've got an idea, but I can't talk about it
Yeah.
because it spoils.
Future.
So
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I'm excited. I really enjoyed this one. To me, this was a solid B plus film. Like, I had issues with it. It wasn't perfect. I even want no Iron Man or Avengers Endgame, but it did do things well. Had the twist, didn't really see coming. How they got to the twist, I thought was a little idiotic. How they found out the twist, but with the high schooler, But other than that, I felt it was a good movie. I Chris Pratt to me though does better roles when he does comedic things, not so
Yeah.
much actiony packed, which I know is what he wants to do, and he does great. And like, don't get me wrong, but I feel like he
Yeah.
shines better when he does comedic roles. And at first, I thought he was going to be like that in this one, like a Guardians of the Galaxy esque character, but it very quickly got squashed and very quickly became a very serious movie. I was like, oh, okay, well, so
Yeah, the comedy that's in the film is provided by other characters,
right,
not his character. There is the one scene that I was like, that would suck, where they're going through the portal for the first time,
mm-hmm.
and they've
Oh,
been told as they're getting ready to go, like, hey, it's going to drop you like 5 to 10 feet above the
yeah,
ground,
just brace
so
for
be
it.
ready. And and he's like, oh, well, this is going to be fun, and it breaks down, and they just start falling from like way up in the
Oh my
sky.
god, it was
You
horrible in Miami.
you see
Oh,
somebody like their lower back, I think it was, just cracks
yeah,
on the
just
top side of a
folded.
building.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, it was so good. It was really well done, though. Oh,
Yeah, I think I gave this 3.5 stars on Letterbox, so
yeah.
I'd be about like a B minus or so in there. So definitely worth a watch. I mean, especially with the second one coming.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, if you think it's one you're only gonna want to watch once, I'd probably wait till two comes out
Yeah, right
and
before it.
watch them back to back. Yeah. Next week, Tyler, why are you doing this to me? Look, look, next week, I'll get you back. Don't worry about it. Uh,
it's like all in
I've,
time for Halloween. Is the reason I'm doing it.
I've got, I've got, I've got Tyler's wife's permission.
Right.
She said she liked when I recommend horror movies. So,
Oh
okay.
God.
So, our movie review for next week is Space Jam: A New Legacy. Um, the good thing about this is it will give me a good reason to go back and watch the best Space
Yeah,
Jam, the original,
and everyone has said
with the
this.
GOAT.
That is the best Space Jam. This one, I hold a candle to it.
Well, one of our friends that we used to work with put on Facebook that he thinks this one's better.
Who?
Kendrick.
Oh, of course he did. Of course he did. Okay, that says a lot.
He's I think he's a big LeBron guy though,
Yeah,
so that's probably
that'd be the reason why.
yeah. All right, so I'll get ready for that. Thanks, Tyler. Um, our first bit of news in film comes from comicbook.com and Cameron Bonamolo.
Sounded good.
I think that's
That
right.
sounded good.
Yeah. Zendaya unsure of Marvel future after Spider-Man No Way Home. Zendaya says it was bittersweet making Spider-Man No Way Home with co-stars Tom Holland and Jacob Batalon because we don't know if we're going to do another one. The Space Jam: A New Legacy star joined the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 2017's Spider-Man: Homecoming, playing Michelle M.J. Jones opposite Holland's Peter Parker and Batalon's Ned Leeds. After the Friends of Spider-Man returned in 2019's Spider-Man: Far From Home, the trio will reunite once again, potentially for the last time, in No Way Home. The movie, out December 17th, is part of the new two-movie deal reached between Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios in 2019. Um, I think she probably has cause to worry that she won't be back.
Mm.
I think I think Tom Holland will be back. Um, but yeah, I could see them phasing the character out. One thing that's going to be interesting about it too is for those folks who have only watched the MCU stuff, Stan Lee always saw Gwen Stacy as Peter Parker's true love.
Mm-hmm. He wrote it that way too.
It was her. Yeah, he wanted those two characters to end up together, and when he was no longer writing the book, um, based on fan reaction, the writer, I can't remember who the writer was at that point, they went the other way
Hmm.
and made it Mary Jane, and
And
they
killed
killed
her
off
off.
Gwen Stacy.
Horribly killed her off.
And so if they want to honor Stan Lee, they bring Gwen Stacy
Mm.
in,
I can see that. I didn't
and
even think about Gwen Stacy in this universe yet.
yeah.
Mm. Which we very well could
Well,
do with
you
the new one.
yeah, because you're also going to have a multiverse of Spider-Men, right? And women, so you could have Spider-Gwen.
Right. Oh,
So,
don't give me hope, because I'm telling you right now, if they put Spider Gwen into these movies, they're gonna sell so much because Spider Gwen is a hugely beloved character. I mean, we saw what it did
uh,
in Spider Verse movie. So I mean, I'm telling you, that's a good call if they do that. I didn't even think of that character appearing in it. Breaking news!
and
You heard it here
and
first.
maybe they don't do it at the with a theatrical release. Maybe it's a Disney Plus show.
Right. Oh, mm. Yep. All in.
All right. Next up from Screen Rant and Nico Marone. Black Widow actor says they play the first mutant in the MCU. Black Widow's Olivier Richters says he is the first mutant in the MCU. His character is Ursa Major, who transforms into a bear in the comics. Um, in Black Widow, he plays a Dutch. No, in real life, he is a Dutch bodybuilder and describes himself as the tallest actor in the world, standing at an imposing 7 feet 2 inches tall
Yep.
and weighs 342 pounds. He's currently set to appear in The King's Man later this year alongside Ralph Fiennes and Harris Dickinson, as well as in the highly anticipated Borderlands adaptation as the bandit leader Crom opposite Cate Blanchett's Lilith
I
and Kevin Hart's
did not
Roland.
know that. Hmm.
In Black Widow, Richters appears in a scene where Scarlett Johansson's Natasha and Florence Pugh's Yelena break their adoptive father, David Harbour's Alexei slash Red Guardian, out of prison. Alexei is challenged to an arm wrestling contest by Richter's character, with Alexei initially appearing fearful of the imposing giant before beating him easily. It's a small appearance, but as one might expect from the MCU, even the smallest character can have a long comics history. Um, yeah, what do you think? Oh, there's a picture of him here.
Yeah, this is from his Instagram.
Okay, let's. Wow, this is a big dude.
He's
Um,
huge.
wow. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna read this post here. It's a little bit lengthy, but Marvel Black Widow is out. After 2 years, I can finally tell who my character is, as stated on IMDb and credits. Ursa Major. And he put a little bear emoji. Mutant that appears in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Swipe photos. Ursa's part of the Winter Guard, noted for being Russia's answer to the Avengers. His power transforms him into an incredible bear, transcending the Hulk in size. Ursa appears many times in the comics, fighting Wolverine and the Hulk. When production on set told me who I really was in Black Widow, I let some tears of joy in my hotel room
Oh, that
because
brings
my
me
movie
chills.
dream became true. Being an official comic superhero, I can only hope Marvel will bring back Ursa in full form.
That is,
Edit. Wanda is one of the. Huh?
it brings me chills, man. Just him, it's like when they
Yeah.
told him because that's what he's always wanted to do, and seeing that when they told him that, he went home to his hotel room and was just crying because he was just so happy. That's just awesome.
Yeah. I mean, again, folks have to go to this Instagram account. It's the Dutch Giant. Um, you just got to see, like, he's got a lot of pictures of
Hmm.
Ursa Major
From
from
the
the
comics.
comics. Yeah, but the first picture is the one that's gonna get.
That's what's gonna
He's
get you.
huge. He's like, he's just like, I. It almost looks fake.
Hmm.
He's that big, but it's not.
No. Good
And
for
that's probably like a 6 foot tall dude standing next to him. I don't like this guy's mouth is just slightly above his belly button. What?
him.
Okay, I got to go to the next news item. That's just wow. I mean, I've seen tall people, but to see it in scale like that
Yeah, and
is,
he's a bodybuilder on top of that. Could easily
yeah,
crush anybody.
it's not just height,
Yeah.
it's strength. All right, our next bit of news is from Deadline and Mike Fleming Jr. Next Star Trek film to be directed by WandaVision's Matt Shakman, script by Lindsay Beer and Geneva Robertson Dworet. After orchestrating the Marvel Disney Plus series WandaVision to a 23 Emmy nomination haul, Matt Shakman has made a deal to direct the next untitled Star Trek film for Paramount and Bad Robot's J.J. Abrams. Deadline hears the film will now move at warp speed and begin production next spring. They have a script by Lindsay Beer and Geneva Robertson Dworet. This is significant in that it's the first Star Trek film to be written by female screenwriters. Recent attempts at scripting Trek films were done by The Revenant's Mark L. Smith for Quentin Tarantino and another by Noah Hawley. Um, let's see. Shackman came out of theater and remains the artistic director of the Geffen Playhouse in Los Angeles. And before WandaVision, he was the EP and director of The Great and helmed episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Fargo, and Game of Thrones. So he's got cred.
Yeah, that's a good pickup.
He's yeah, wow. I'm still thinking about that. So it's Jack. All right. Next up, Variety.com and Antonio Ferme reports Antonio Banderas joins Indiana Jones 5. And yes, hey, if you say this guy's name, you can't say Antonio Banderas.
Right.
You have to say it the way he says it, Antonio Banderas.
And
It has to.
hey, have you heard from him recently
No,
of him being
I
anything?
think you may have sent me a text like a week or two ago,
No, I
but
mean, like,
I
have
haven't
you heard of him
replied.
being anything
Uh,
recently? I haven't like heard of him in any films or TV shows, at least that I've paid attention to.
um, I'm trying to think. It might just tell us in here, but nothing that immediately jumps out. No. Um, Antonio Banderas is the latest actor to join the cast of Indiana Jones 5. Banderas will be joining Harrison Ford, who returns as the titular protagonist, along with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Mads Mikkelsen, Boyd Holbrook, Shawnette Renee Wilson, and Thomas Kretschmann. The upcoming adventure film, which began shooting at Pinewood Studios near London in June, marks the first Indiana Jones movie to be produced under the Disney banner. While plot details about who Banderas is playing and what new adventures Indy will be facing um, have not been revealed, the film is currently slated to release in theaters on July 29th, 2022.
He's in.
James Mangold,
Go
huh?
ahead. Go ahead.
James Mangold, who received critical acclaim for his work on Oscar-nominated films Logan and Ford vs. Ferrari, will be directing the film. Mangold also co-wrote the script with Jez and John Henry Butterworth, whose
He's
wife is Mrs. Butterworth.
he's been in a lot of Spanish things between 2018 and now. Like he was in Doolittle in 2020, and he's gonna be in the Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard this year. But he's in
Oh, he's
Uncharted.
also uh-huh, and
Hmm.
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which if you never saw the first Puss in Boots, you need to watch it.
I don't think I have seen
I'm
the
just
first one.
saying. It's good.
Hmm.
So, I like that casting. I always like him in
Yeah,
pretty much anything he's done.
he's a good cast. I'm waiting for him to be in MCU, but
Did you ever see Once Upon a Time in Mexico?
no.
You should watch it. I'm just saying.
Add it to the list.
We need a list of things you haven't seen.
Right.
All right, next up from Variety. Dwayne Johnson says making Black Adam has been a true honor as production wraps. And I think last week on the Lost episode, we read off his official end of production
They said they were
post, right?
they said they're finishing that week, which would have been last week,
Okay,
and this was the official day because this came out yesterday on Saturday was the official last day.
right. Black Adam has officially wrapped. Dwayne Johnson broke the news on social media about the DC movie due July 29th, 2022. He wrote, I knew many years ago the opportunity for me to make Black Adam would be a once in a career event. It's been my true honor to go shoulder to shoulder with over 1,000 brilliant and hungry crew of filmmakers and storytellers to bring the anti hero known as Black Adam to life. Um, it then just notes Black Adam's a spinoff of 2019 Shazam. He goes on to say this has been one for the ages and easily the hardest labor and toughest grind mentally and physically of my entire career. Worth every second. Um,
I can't wait.
which yeah, that it's going to be an interesting movie, man.
I
I'm
think
looking forward to it.
if any of them, this movie, because the way the Rock does anything, he doesn't do anything in less than 100% of his willpower. He does everything at 100%. And I
Right.
feel like if the DCEU is going to do anything good in the next 5-10 years, it's going to be Black Adam. Just because of how much he's loved the character. I mean, hell, this that was announced, what, 12, 15 years ago when he said he's going to do a Black Adam movie. I don't think it's been that long, but it has been quite a bit. Um, and him saying this has been the most toughest mentally and physically. He said in an interview, or he said in one of his posts on Instagram, that this has been the most physical, like he's had to be in the top physical form he's ever been in for anything. And I'm excited for it, and I know he loves his character and he's going to do it justice. And it's not going to be anything less than a B minus movie. I'm period. It's not going to be. And whether it ties to anything in the DCEU, I don't know. But again, it
Uh,
goes off what they want to do.
well, I mean, does anything tie together in the
That's
DCEU?
true.
I mean, they, now it's bleeding over into their TV shows. They're not even tying those together, right?
Right.
Um,
Jesus.
one last item. ScreenRant.com's Rachel Labonte writes, Jason Momoa arrives in London for Aquaman 2 filming. Weeks after production kicked off on Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, star Jason Momoa has arrived in London to begin work on the DCEU flick. Um, Cam, okay, no, they just had a typo there.
he so like his Instagram post, he made a video and I watched it earlier. But the big thing that I took out of it, he said, I'm going to start Aquaman 2 tomorrow. This was because this was today he made this post on Sunday. He
Hmm.
then said he also will be dyeing his hair blonde for the movie. I'm excited to see James and the whole cast, and I'll be dyeing my hair blonde, which it was not blonde in the first movie. So,
Right.
uh, what? Uh, did we forget?
Did
Source.
it have did it have highlights though?
It had a
I
little bit
seem
of
to remember it
highlights,
being
but
a
the way
little,
he's making it sound like he's going blonde, blonde.
yeah,
So
like Ric Flair blonde.
yeah, I don't know if that's the case or if he's kind of over exaggerating it, but I don't know. I'm excited. I'm
Mm,
glad that it's starting to get underway. I loved the first one and all of
absolutely.
its campiness, but I can't wait for this one.
Absolutely. Um, as far as releases this week, in theaters on July 23rd, we have Old, which is the new M. Night Shyamalan.
It looks trippy.
And yeah, well, another one that looks pretty interesting, and if you're like me and you're an 80s kid that grew up on this cartoon, you might want to check this movie out. Also, July 23rd, in the US, cinema only, Snake Eyes. So this is obviously the character from the G.I. Joe universe. So they showed previews for this before Black Widow,
It looked good.
and it looked really,
Yeah.
really good.
Let's talk about some gaming here, Chris. Now, I want to know what you been playing over there on either the Series S or the PS5 back there.
My usual this week. I
Hmm.
didn't stray too far this week.
Um, Obviously, I play Destiny 2. I mean,
Hmm
there's a slight addiction there. Period. There's slight addiction. But on top of that, I've been so Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD came out this past Friday. In anticipation for it, I bought and started playing Link's Awakening on the Switch. That's fun. It's a nice little chibi, little top-down 3D kind of adventure. It's pretty cool. I really enjoy it. But then I've been playing it and Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, which they still have the motion controls, which were so bad 10 years ago, but it's a little bit better. They've made a little quality of life improvements. It's one of the only ones I have not, out of the Legend of Zelda series, I have not played from start to finish. I'm hoping this game corrects it. It just depends on how the rest of the year looks for me, gaming wise. Because if Horizon Forbidden West comes out, I'm done. There's
hmm
nothing else I'll play. But other than that, that's what I've been up to. All right, we've got two news stories here. One of which kind of ties into TV and movies, so we'll get with it. Netflix plans to add video games next year. I'm going to Kotaku.com by Luke Plunkett. This was very curious for me. I don't know how they're going to do it. So, just how many subscription services are you going to pay for? Is what it says. This was hinted at back in May, but just become a bit more real with Bloomberg reporting that Netflix is planning to add games to a subscription service sometime within the next year. Netflix has hired Mike Verdu, formerly of EA and Facebook slash Oculus, as vice president of game development, which certainly implies Netflix is looking at creating its own games rather than just licensing others out. Quote, the idea is to offer video games on Netflix's streaming platform within the next year, the story says, while also reporting that the company doesn't currently plan to charge extra for the content. While this might initially seem like a weird move for a company that made its name with movies and TVs, it makes a lot more sense when you consider Netflix as a media company that pictures itself at war, not just with Amazon Prime and Disney Plus, but with anyone who is trying to sell content that's played on a living room TV. Of course, it goes along with the Netflix executives have no doubt been looking at Microsoft's growing success with a Game Pass platform and thinking, yes, this is something that we too could be doing and making millions slash billions from, just like Amazon has done and effed up, and just like Google have done and also effed up. So we'll see. I think everyone's thinking it's going to be like a cloud-based streaming service like xCloud is, Amazon Luna, Google Stadia, that kind of stuff.
So, uh, l- it might be in the story here, but let me ask you this: would it make more sense for them to try to partner with Sony, or would it make more sense for them to go after strictly PC titles, maybe partner with
See,
Steam?
I don't know, and I don't. This comes out of left field for me, and I don't understand why they. Because what they're wanting is essentially like Google Stadia and Amazon Luna has done, and what XCloud is continuing to do is and make it a streaming service. Like you go to Netflix to watch movies and TVs. Well, now you can also play games by just putting Bluetooth to a controller and playing it on there. Do I think it's going to work? No. Unless they've got something extremely revolutionary. I mean, Google Stadia is not working. Amazon Luna, as much as I wanted it to work, is not the best. XCloud is doing phenomenal with its streaming service and everything. So,
Right.
I mean, they're still working on. I mean, there's still a lot of kinks in this. Like, you can't even do these things unless you live in like a first world country or like somewhere that's connected to great internet. I mean, hell, with me for being in the living room and the Wi-Fi and the router and everything in here in the office, it still has a little bit of latency and lag to it. And I've got fiber, like the best of the best in our area, and it still doesn't work the best. So I mean, I just don't. I understand that's where the industry is leaning towards right now, but I don't think Netflix is going to be the one to fix it.
I wonder, title-wise, if they would focus on making games based on Netflix properties.
mm.
Like Stranger Things and stuff like
Castlevania,
that.
and I don't know. That's a good call. I don't see this working out, but I've been wrong
No,
before, and
it's
I don't like being wrong. Next
well.
article,
To be fair, no one thought Netflix would take off initially. Anyway,
and it's the biggest
back when they
streaming
started.
service of all time. So it's a good call.
Yeah.
Next and last news article we've got for the day is Christopher Judge will be playing Black Panther in Marvel's Avengers. We're going to VG247.com for this one by Stephanie Nunley. Actor Christopher Judge, who voiced Kratos in God of War 2018, will lend his voice to Black Panther in the upcoming Marvel Avengers expansion. The Stargate actor will voice King T'Challa in Marvel's Avengers expansion, The Black Panther War for Wakanda. At first, Judge wasn't interested in voicing the role due to the fact that he didn't, quote, believe that anyone should ever do T'Challa again after the death of Black Panther star Chadwick Boseman. Okay, before I read any more of this, he did such a phenomenal job in God of War as Kratos. He could be
Hmm.
cast as anything. And then he comes in and says no one should ever do it again after Chadwick Boseman, like is perfect, and it's just absolutely perfect. But then we goes in. The actual talks proceeded, and basically, I wound up doing it because my mother and my children said if I didn't do it, they would disown me, he told Entertainment Weekly. To be quite honest, I was fearful of being compared to what Chadwick had so wonderfully done. The only way I could really wrap my head around it was to not even attempt to voice the match, to let my performance stand on its own. I put all that into it, and hopefully people like it. According to the EW article, we can expect the DLC to take place around 5 years after the events of A-Day, which will have ripple effects in Wakanda, and it will see Black Panther defending the country from Claw, who seeks to steal vibranium. I love Christopher Judge. When this news dropped, I was so much more excited for this expansion. I mean, I'm excited for it because they've been doing quality of life and fixing things within the game. But the fact that Christopher Judge is going to be Black Panther, and at first he said no, no one should ever do it, and then he came back and said he's going to, just it means a lot to me. So
I I get where he was coming from, but then you have to realize too that even if Chadwick Boseman were alive, he most likely would not have voiced the
right,
character for the game because they don't have that cooperation between the MCU and the video game.
right. I'm excited. I still need to play through the Hawkeye expansion, um, but this one's supposed to be much bigger from all the other expansions they've had in the past, and this comes out in I guess it does come out in August, so I really need to jump on that too. So I mean, there's just I'm excited for it. Hawkeye they did a real good job with, which I said I would not touch it because it's not interesting to me. But well, Black Panther is going to be a big move. We're still waiting on Spider-Man. Any kind of news about it coming to there because he was supposed to be a PlayStation exclusive for a year has not even been mentioned. So
Mm.
who
Which
knows?
which Spider-Man are they doing the Miles Morales or the Peter Parker?
Peter Parker, and it's not related to the Spider-Man from PlayStation. It's
Hmm.
standalone. So they say right now. So we'll see. Uh, but guys, that has been episode 34 of the NerdWide podcast. Again, we have to pimp out The Sightless City. Is our book review, and we have it up on our YouTube and podcasting service. Make sure you go and listen to it. It's about 10 minutes long. Chris does an excellent job of reviewing this book, and it's got me really wanting to buy it. And I'm thinking I'm going to look at Amazon here in a little bit and buy a physical copy of it. I'm one of those ones, as you can see on my shelf. I love just holding a book in my hand. I'm excited to read that one. Make sure it's on YouTube and it's on our podcasting services. Thank you all for listening, though. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the NerdWide podcast. Don't forget to share on all your favorite social media platforms if you enjoyed this episode. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, whatever you want to share it on. Make sure you are sharing it so we get the word out and more ears and eyes on this show. Don't forget to rate and review it, this podcast, on all your favorite podcasting service. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on this YouTube video if you liked it. If you didn't like it, go down to the comments. Let us know what you didn't like and what we can improve. We don't know what we can fix if you don't let us know what it is. And speaking of social media, you can follow NerdWide account at nerd_wide on Twitter. You can search in nerdwide.com on Facebook to find our social media platform there. You can follow me at Ty_Haynes on Twitter and Chris at MavTN7 on Twitter. But guys, that has been this week's episode of the NerdWide podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. We cannot wait to share with you our next episode next week, hopefully with no problems.